Welcome to Beer Talks with Letu. Today on the show we have Manez Mawande Ukanki. So I discovered something about Ukanki. Actually, I want to ask more about this thing. So you've got that thing that you do, the sauce. First thing that so who is Ukanki?
Ukangi brings healing. If you know Ukangi is that guy that kind of makes things okay. Ukangi makes things okay. I think if you were to describe it in layman terms, Ukangi makes things okay.
Ukangi is the healer.
It makes things fine. If you're going through some shit, Ukangi can take care of it. So if you look at Ukangi as a sauce, I think we gave birth to it as part of a session we used to do that was designed as a hangover. It was called hangover hangout. Essentially, we would cure hangovers. By throwing a nice chill session, making really cool burgers, and we would make the sauce to go with the burgers, and then we'll call it which is Kange's secret, because everyone knew. You take a bite of that burger, it kind of refreshes you. Jake, whatever other forms of health you may do.
It also does other things.
I don't know, but I've heard rumors, people saying that it's an effective charge up. Gives you wings.
It gives you wings. Okay, no, that's cool. That's cool. So me not being closer, I had to ask what is Ukangi, but I kind of like the word Ukangi.
Yeah, I think things change. Yes, the cool thing about living in this age is the fact that we can reimagine, phrases and give them a fresh new context, a fresh new meaning. Whether you want to refer to yourself as Ikyan, whether you want to reimagine the concept of Inkabi, in a Zulu people context, we can reimagine phrases to kind of embrace their power, but then give them a new, young take. So Ukangi is my perception of the phrase, and I know exactly what it is, but I remember its essence, and I think its essence can exist in different applications.
Ukangi in traditional terms.
Ukankata is, he's the guy that looks after the boys when they're up in the mountain.
Okay.
So he makes everything okay. The boys are scared, they don't know what's next. He always shows up to make sure they're ready to transition into manliness, into manhood, So he makes things okay,
Okay. So obviously when you're a closer guy, you went and I know there's a lot of things that you're not supposed to say, but what are those things that you can say? What's your experience in Ukangi?
I think for now that it's a beautiful metaphorical time in our lives. I think that because everything that happens there is a reflection of life and society. So, and then it's highlighted in the teachings, so you can learn different perspectives of life, a way of life that you're supposed to then use to govern your life going forward. What it means to be a man, and so you look at what is happening to you and in and around you in that transitional phase, and you can pick up different metaphors or different references that relate back to real life scenarios, and it teaches you then how to deal and handle with what life throws at you in a way that then honors this idea of being a man of stature, a man of distinction, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So essentially that's what it is. It's an education space where you're learning ways to life very well.
To life,
It's ways you learn how to life. If you don't come out having learned how to life, then you haven't spent the times there wisely.
So on the show we also have the ghost. The ghost is this guy, Sean, but his face is not so good looking for the camera, so we keep him on the other side. So Sean, but he's got a sexy voice. He's got a fucking sexy voice. So Sean, when you also went now, you also know those things, like you also.
So I was going to actually say that. Basically, if you look at life, when you want to be a doctor, you go to university and study to be a doctor. If you want to drive a car, you go and get your learners, you get your drivers. Now, if you want to life, you go to the bush.
And it's different ways.
No, that's cool.
It's learning to human very well. Better, ideally.
Something is a teacher.
No,
Anything else? What is going to teach you about life?
There
has to be something. So women have their own one.
Yes.
Don't jam. My mom. Yes. Where you are sit down and you get taught. This is how you need to life. This is what it means to be a woman. This is what it means to be a black woman. This is what it means to be a black Xhosa woman.
Okay, wow.
The essence of you
Yeah.
So that's basically what the bush is.
And it's
What's the
referencing, I think
yeah.
every academic program is used or is taught based on reference.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about history, you reference events that have occurred. And so in the most, how to study wars, you know, how to predict wars, how to study geography, how to predict geographical trends. There's references of stuff that have happened before. I think in that space, it's what happens in and around you. And then you look at those references. So why is this heart shaped this way? Then it's a reference of what life means and so on and so forth. But I mean, yeah, it's just another form of tertiary education. Really.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I can't remember, someone says like adulting has no manual. I think it was a way Abadala to try and give us a bit of, not necessarily a manual, but a reference to say, hey, dude, this is what we normally go through.
Exactly.
This is one of the things that you would expect and stuff like that. So there's an interesting question though. So we have one of the biggest problems in the country, which is gender-based violence.
Yeah.
And that space. So do you guys get a bit of education on that as well?
I think it's, as I said, is the unfortunate thing that happens in trying to put it in the most layman terms possible is that there's various subjects that are taught. And you can call them 3 primary subjects in that space, where it talks to being a man in a very myself-focused sense, and there's being a man in
the community,
a way to speak, and there's being a man in the way you carry yourself for others, or in and around other people. And it talks to behavior. And unlike any other academic programs, students will have their favorite subjects. And sometimes they might not pay particular attention in another subject. And I think that's often what happens, that in some of those key focus areas, one may not learn them in the most effective way. I think there's 2 that you could easily be measured on in terms of having learned something successfully. Like, have you learned how to speak like a man? That's very, you can assess that. Have you learned to act like a man in a way that centers on you? That we can get a sense of very early on. But there's one whose results are measured in the long run. And that's in how you carry yourself among others. And unfortunately, by the time you realize that you have failed, you have long left the school. And so that's where maybe it becomes tricky, that even though some lessons are taught, the comprehension thereof cannot be measured. In the, just in the immediate. It's in how you carry yourself and behave forward that we can say, oh shit.
So there's this part. So I think I'll get myself stoned, because obviously I'm a Xhosa man, but I'm a Nguni man, which means I'm not
relatable.
Really far. I'm relatable. But also, so there's this thing, after umuntu esebuye entabeni, we say indoda. But this person literally got a certificate of participation, not of like a distinction or a pass. You know. So, and then we have these people that failed to listen, and then because we give them that certificate of participation and not tell them it's just for participation, we tell them which means they have passed. And then they go out, they think about Madoda, and then they do unmanly shit. You know, and then, you know, but the whole tradition. You know,
there's a sadness that comes with globalization, a sadness that comes with us integrating in the greater world, is that there are aspects of our lives that we can no longer be governed by. Whereas back in the day, you would realize the sense of community was very strong. That even beyond graduating from the school of womanlyhood, you can be held accountable because society was very close-knit. And everything you do can then be measured and can be seen, and you can be reprimanded accordingly. should you then do anything that harms the image. So udliwa, even, I mean, you hug a tree. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. There's Kwasibonda, where everyone would gather and cases would be discussed. So it's sort of a traditional court. Yeah. And so there would be a complaint laid against you, you have done X, Y, and Z, and you'll be trialed. And then you'll account, not just by paying a fine, but those meetings happened around a tree next to a kraal for a reason. Yeah. Because should you be found guilty, you are going to hug that tree. Okay. And hugging the tree teaches you, it dehumanizes you, teaches you not to act, like and they will be treated as such. And so you change your ways because no one wants to ever see themselves hugging a tree, especially not for a second or a third time in a row. So even those that offend can go through this process of changing because then it encourages behavior change. Yeah. I don't want to hug a tree, I don't want to be fined, because then you are then being reduced to the animal that you are behaving as. Okay. Now those systems of accountability are no longer as effective.
No, so nomthetho ka Cyril.
I mean, Udalingebo was jailed for all these years because he had practiced that very same.
Okay.
Wow, you was exactly. People that they came and they were reported in his court, and he convenes that court. Yeah. And then he had to lead the charge of punishment. And then people were saying, passed away, I'm not sure. But then through that, there was a legal case opened in the Western courts, and then he was tried differently. So he was punished for punishing people that were brought to his court. Yeah. You know?
So that's a tricky one,
yeah? I mean, it could have been because he left the ANC for the DA, but that sounds what a long time.
Okay, okay, yes.
It could have been one of those situations of it's cold outside of the ANC.
But now, okay. Okay, yeah, but
you don't kiss Helen and survive, Chief.
No.
Ask all of them.
Yeah.
No, Helen. No, you kissed Helen. That's one.
The kiss of death.
You? Mampele. She kissed Helen.
She kissed Helen waphela.
You don't kiss Helen, Chief.
Mampele wa kiss Helen waphela. No, Helen.
No, but I mean, hey, dog. Hey, I don't know. What's her claim to fame? Anyway, let's talk about other things.
Yes. No.
So, about Dalingebo. Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
So I think, you touched on something about society.
Yeah.
And globalization. That affected us immensely in terms of how everything that is wrong with Ubutina and our culture and how we maneuver has everything to do with the dilution that has happened. Yeah. And what we are trying to do now is we are trying to morph the little bit that is there into this thing called westernization. Yeah. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
So there are ramifications and there residue that comes from trying to be white, but the essence is that we are not.
Yeah. So I always ask myself, if we are to take all our smart minds, I don't want to say the legal minds because the legal minds are trained in the Western way, is it possible for us to create laws and a legal system that fits into the African framework?
It's difficult because I think the biggest illusion is democracy.
Yeah.
And democracy is being championed as the most effective way to govern. But I don't think any traditional ways are designed through a democratic system. Yeah. And so how do we integrate certain traditional laws into the only Western accepted? Because if you're not democratic and you don't have power, you are discarded by the West. It's different when you are a China, a Russia, because then those countries have money, so they can stick to their own system, their own electoral system that is best for their own people. and so it's different than in a country, in a developing country context where you need to rely on investment from the IMF, and so all these other forms of oppression that our countries are being held by.
That's another thing. That's another thing. Like China, they made their own laws and they developed based on their own laws. I think from the time of Mao Zedong, you know. And China, we are at mercy of our IMF and all these so-called foreign investors. Has anyone in Africa benefited from foreign investment?
I think I don't think it's about foreign investment anymore.
Before we say, which like you're saying, we're at mercy of these guys.
I don't think we're imprisoned by foreign investment. I think that's where we may not get it properly. We're not imprisoned by foreign investment.
What are you imprisoned by?
Foreign debt.
Foreign debt, yeah.
It's debt that already exists that is being used to keep us at bay.
Yeah, but so it's all these people, they don't invest, they give us debt.
No, I'm saying the debt has been there.
Yeah.
I think with the end of colonialism and apartheid and so forth, a lot of African governments inherited debt from the previous rulers.
Yeah.
And that debt is the one thing that's been used to keep us at bay. Because we need to continuously, so whenever any other change of law we make that affects the debtors negatively, they take reciprocal action against us. Like, so for example, when we tried to change the chicken laws in this country, when Obama was president, it was going to affect the American economy negatively because we are being forced to consume American chicken.
And Obama was like,
poor
no,
quality.
you're going to eat
and they were going to say, should you change those laws, we're going to show you who's boss. So the debt is used to put us under pressure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because we are already indebted to them, it's not money that's coming in that we're worried about. It's the one that we've already spent. And how the contract is being set up, to say the least.
Yeah, that's
and so we're not victims to foreign, I don't think we're victims to foreign investment.
Yeah.
We're not prisoner to that, but it's foreign debt that we'd inherited from the previous regimes, and we continue to live under that distress. A reference point in what Zimbabwe became.
Yeah, I know. I'm from Zim, so I know exactly what.
That's
what
an example of
those guys
when
like,
you defy the West. Look at how we're gonna.
No, they will show you.
Exactly. So no country wants to.
Those motherfuckers are ruthless.
Exactly. No country wants to go through that shit.
Yeah.
No country wants to go through a process of being stripped of its capability to survive.
I wonder what's going to happen to Tanzania. Talking about that.
To get to a point where they are a better nation than before.
So I mean,
talking about defying the West, it's going to be interesting. I just want to have this on record so that after some time I'll revisit it and we'll talk about it. Tanzania recently rejected this COVID-19 thing. They're like, no, you know what? There's not COVID-19. All this other thing is, it's not going to keep. I wouldn't say exactly what they said, but they're not participating in this whole thing. They're not going to take the vaccine. They didn't participate in this lockdown situation and all these things. So, I mean, we also don't know how many people died there.
Yeah.
Maybe they did, maybe they did not, maybe they didn't announce, maybe whatever. I think rumors also past few weeks was like Benin also rejected the vaccine thing, which I think they can't afford it,
Firstly.
So it means if they're gonna take the vaccines, they have to take debt on these vaccines and whatever. So they also rejected it. I think I had a chat with someone a few weeks ago actually, who was coming from Tanzania, and actually Zanzibar. And they were saying, no, Zanzibar is dead quiet. There's nothing, there's no tourists, and they don't think there's going to be any tourism since Tanzania kind of rejected the vaccines. I think they're going to land heavy on Tanzania.
You're going to start seeing videos from the community with dead bodies all over, saying Tanzania. The Tanzanian government is concealing the number of deaths due to this virus. And so there's mounting pressure from the international community for freeing the people of Tanzania.
Then they go to liberate
And there's going to be a movement to liberate.
And you know how America liberates you motherfuckers. Like they will liberate you like they liberated Libya.
Exactly.
Bruh, those guys, they know how to
You're going
liberate.
to start seeing dead bodies everywhere. And it's going to be on CNN.
Yeah.
It's going to be on BBC.
Yeah.
It's going to be on Fox. Al Jazeera is going to get a wind of it. Because Al Jazeera is no longer pro.
Twitter, bruh. Twitter.
You know? So you're going to start, unless there's a strong voice from the Tanzanians themselves saying, we are with our government in this narrative, then they can counter whatever the main international media puts out. Because then the advent of social media gives us the opportunity to counter, to say, listen, whatever you're reporting in the news, we can tell you that it's false and show you from the ground what the situation is different from what you are saying in the reports. And that's the only way that the countries of that size tend to...
but they
so because it's fighting the fake news system.
They can't, in
the
Africa,
fake machine.
There's always opposition parties,
Exactly.
and opposition parties will do anything to be on power.
But that's why I'm saying, Muti, the
citizens
citizens themselves, if the citizens are strong enough, they can raise a voice that is big enough to counter any fake news that's being put out there in the world. And it's about believing who over the earth. Because then...
You will never, media has so much power, but
that's what I mean. And then that becomes the true test of media versus social media.
But the thing is about social media and media is that whatever you take, media is an entity that is run by a company, a private company.
Yeah.
Now, a private company is prone to have an agenda and be infiltrated to push any agenda. We know that as human beings, right? Do you have the responsibility to be subjective and fair? Yes, you do. It's the first line of thing that you have as a media company. You're not meant to be biased, right?
Yeah.
You know that, and they know that as well. But now, social media and me tweeting that I'm fine, I'm in Tanzania, and media house saying Tanzanian people are dying. Which one are you going to believe?
No, but they'll put money, and then they'll be like, hashtag, we are dying in Tanzania.
No, but you see,
and then they're also going to be like, hashtag.
But you see, with Bell Pottinger and what is this, the Trump one that they used before the elections?
What the name of the
where they would, but you see, stuff like this has been exposed, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing of using bots has been caught out, because that's what they used to do most, to counter other people, to outtrend the other topic. They would use bots, fake Twitter accounts to tweet with a particular hashtag and a particular narrative, and then it outtrends everyone else. But now we've been made aware that this stuff can be engineered. And so a conscious people has the power to try and recognize what's going over the earth,
so
and finding a true voices on the ground. So if Tanzanians themselves believe in what the government is trying to do, they can help the government counter any media forces that are coming in to try and destabilize the narrative. Do you know what I mean? Of what actually goes on in the country. And if the Tanzanian media houses, not just the government owned, if the Tanzanian media houses also stand with their government.
That's another weakness with Africa.
So all of them feel they need to show up, because they know if I show up for this guy's stuff, he can help people show up for me, because he's got access to the different cliques. He's got access to different markets, different audiences, different influencers in all the spaces. And I think that's been a very powerful tool that I've used in the work that I've done. So then I know, number one, because if I'm useful to someone's life, they want to constantly exist in mine. And so they support me by default. So when I say something, people tend to listen because of that need to be aware of what I'm saying. Because it means, if I'm connected, if I'm in touch with this whole boy, you know, I'm not as useful as I think I am, but it's perception that counts. And I think that's what's important. So the first point of success for me was learning to navigate the different cliques and being able to tap into their audiences when I need to do my own stuff. I think that's where the power lies. If you don't have the money to put major stuff together.
Yeah.
You can create your own little pockets of success by tapping into different audience spaces, by bringing them together as well. When I used to do hip hop events, I used to tap into the township's Paza market. I used to tap into, that crop of talent from Langa that was very upmarket and uptown, rapping in English. I used to tap deep into Cape colored hip hop with the youngsters and people of that nature. I used to tap into the uptown kids who were not necessarily Capetonians or South African by origin. Who were rapping in Loop Street. We were rapping on, and then if you tap into the different audience and you say in the lineup, I've got Pizzo from Khayelitsha, I've got Clemens Cup from Kukuletu, I've got Amilcar Mezerati from Kwalanga who represents black kids wanting to be cool kids. I've got, exactly all of these different people, and then you put them in one lineup, and you've got different DJs and influencers from that space. They're all backing you. I've been lucky to then have people that are willing to do stuff with me, even if I didn't have the money for it, because they believed in the power of my efforts and the power of the success that this stuff could achieve. So it almost feels like when they connect with me, they are being plugged into a world in which they want to be seen at as well. So I guess that's been a thing that's led to success for me, and all of the different projects then in hip hop and in house and in cinema and so on and so on and so forth.
So that's very cool, because I almost did the same thing when we started to come up here a few years ago. Like as an idea, I would go to many breweries. Obviously, every other brewery is owned by white people, and we would go there, and I would ask just to help them. Like, guys, I just want you to allow me into your space. I will do anything, whether it's cleaning or anything that you want me to do there. I'll do that thing as long as you're gonna answer a few of my questions. So I remember I did a lot with Long Beach Brewery. Shout out to Roger and Yaku Dipia. These guys, they did thing. They were the first guys to give me space. But one of the guys that really gave me a lot of knowledge was a guy called Mark Furi. Me and him, we have a very special relationship. Shout out to Mark. But when I went there, he would go and he would make me spend the whole day cleaning at the back and grinding malts where there's dust and all the shit and all these other things, And I didn't enjoy that thing a bit until I think he goes somewhere and he meets another guy, and this guy is like, "Oh, dudes," I think he says to this other guy that he may look for another guy to hire in his shop. And then it's like, this guy is saying, no, there's another boy who works at the Waterfront Food Market. He's so keen, so passionate about beer, and he also makes a thing. He also made this other beer, and he made a great beer, like it was an Imperial IPA and shit like that. And he's like, next day he goes to his brother, the moment I just knock his gate, he's like, "I spoke to Monet. You know Monet?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Did you make a certain beer?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Can you get me for me?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Can you go now?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, okay, I can." So I go and I get that and I bring it to him, and he tastes it, and he's like, from that day, he changed his attitude towards me. He started bringing me to the front. He started talking to me, started doing that. So sometimes there's this part where you gotta invest in a relationship. It's an investment, Every time when you talk to a lot of young, especially young black people, I think we've been beaten too many times. So we have this small boy thing about us as we go about things, and we don't understand that, investment is not always about money. It's about the time you give. Everyone has something to give. You literally can go wash someone's car to get their attention.
I think
that's kind of a thing.
For me, you mentioned something that I've always avoided. And it's little boying yourself.
Exactly.
For me now, I realized, Guti, here, ego is important in how you use it. And people are confident about themselves up until they meet someone who they feel like, man, I don't trust myself around this person.
Yeah.
I feel they need to step up myself. So then instead of wanting to be the one that needs to step up, I presented myself as the one that they needed to step up to.
Oh wow. That's
because then you take over power. And you start dictating the tone of the conversation and the direction in which it takes. And you bluff. Bluff accordingly, Chief.
So before you, let me hold you there. Let me hold you. You know about bluffing.
Prepare
about
yourself.
Bluffing. There's this movie that my daughter always loves to watch. I think me and my daughter, between my daughter and my wife, we watched that movie 100 times. It's called N. You know the N movie with the Jamie Foxx, the young girl thing. And there's a part that's the most profound. Jeez, I carry it with me everywhere I go. There's a part where Jamie Foxx is on the helicopter showing that little girl around the city. You know, and then he says to the little girl, you know what? Everyone has a card. You always gotta use your card wherever you are. And then this little girl, obviously she's an orphan, she's never had parents, never anything. She says, what if you do not have a card? And then Jamie Foxx says, like, you bluff. You know, that's one part that I didn't have in my life many a time. So this is how I grew up. So I grew up in a small township called Epumula. So Ekaslet, not like the whole town. The small town of Bulawayo, there's this thing called a trade fair. Trade fair is where all businesses come once in a year to showcase their new products and new whatever. The farmers come to showcase their biggest bulls and whatever and food. So it's like a lot of science, trades, whatever, and also games. So there's like the Ratinga Junction kind of a situation where people do the roller coasters and all these other things, you know. So it was a major event of the town, and it contributed so much in the economy of the whole town. Should I call it a city, actually? So every year, people looked forward to that thing, and it happened around April. I think, was it April or February? I think it was April. We never went there. My father was poor. My parents couldn't afford to take us there. Or they didn't think that it was important, so they never made an effort. I think if they did make an effort, we could have gone there. And we as kids, we also acted as if it wasn't important, because so many of the kids didn't go there. I remember in my class, like in my area, I think there was like kids from 2 or 3 families that went there. They always came back from there eating candy floss. You know, and you see them holding that thing. It's nice. It's white. It's fluffy. It's creamy. It tastes like milk. And that was my imagination, because I never tasted it, ever. And I envied them. That was my symbol of poverty. Every time, trade fair time, I felt small and I felt poor, because I couldn't afford to have candy floss. Year after year, until I was a grown man, I never tasted the candy floss. I could only imagine it. I imagined that it tasted. I imagined that it tasted like condensed milk. You know, that sort of thing. So fast forward, almost 30 years later, I'm in Cape Town. I met Nolu, we dating and what. And then one day we're walking in Company Gardens. We see this other guy, he's carrying a lot of these motherfuckers in a bag, he's selling these things. They now have colors. Back then they didn't have colors. Candy floss was white, every year. You know, it was white, you know. And
I know
I'm like,
the pink.
I'm like, oh, candy floss. So I tell you what a little bit of their story. She's like, yeah, but why don't you buy it? I'm like, in my mind,
you still can't afford it.
I'm working, man. I've got money. I'm renting gardens, you know. But in my mind, I'm still the little boy who can't afford a candy floss, who is not worthy a candy floss. And she's like, why didn't you buy it? It's like 5
It's a
rand.
moment of liberation.
It's 5 rand.
Mental enslavement.
Even when I took out that 5 rand, I had feared me. And we bought that candy floss, and I took a little bit of it and I put it in my mouth. That shit is disgusting. You know, I hate it. It's like burnt sugar. You know, I hate it. I don't like it. It's like
meeting your role model.
But now,
they say never meet your role model because you realize that they're humans, and how shitty humans are.
Yeah.
That's
most of the time, Rome was actually
that thing is like, and now I'm looking at my whole childhood and the inferiority complex that this thing, should we say, lack of this thing gave me. You know, and this thing, I don't like it. I don't like it. I tasted it once, like a pinch of it. I've never tried to buy it again.
And you're pissed off now because it's like
I'm pissed
I've
off.
spent my entire life being proven by the desire.
Like this is a thing that messed with my self-esteem.
And your entire childhood.
My entire childhood lost. I will never get that motherfucker back. You know.
Yeah. The other kids were flossing, I understand.
Right. and I hated them. I used to hate all those what we called rich kids. They were not really rich, but they were better than us. I used to hate them a lot. Most of them only later in life, then you start meeting them. Like, actually, they are wonderful people.
I was lucky not to grow up in a village where poverty was normal. I grew up in a village where poverty, everyone just had that thing.
Everyone was poor in a nice way.
Everyone was poor. We all went to school barefooted. We all crossed the river going to school. We all used old 10 kg testic rice packages for school bags. Everyone was about the same. In fact, if you had a backpack, you were the weird one. You know, we all ate the same stuff.
No,
we all swam in the same dam.
I came from the other family where we used to admire those that eat tasty rice. We used to eat the other rice, not tasty.
No, but Akiri, with pension, Umakolo would get paid once a month, that pension money, and so she can bring back a bag of rice, which we ate once every, once a week.
The name we're looking for
But
is Gqom.
yeah, it's just so weird because 10 kg is 12.5, they're affordable. 50 kgs as well.
That's what we buy in our families, like neighborhoods.
And so they were sold in like Ilando, what do they call them these days? They bundled up into a price. They're called, I don't forget the name now.
Those are, what do you call this?
Hamper.
Those hampers.
So
12 kg and the 5 liters of cooking oil.
If you buy it on Samati, okay.
And 2 kgs of salt.
You know the weirdest thing about growing up in the village is how stuff that is now a luxury to us in the hood was an everyday life thing we didn't look forward to anymore. Like umleqwa. Umleqwa was so normal to us. It's what we ate every day. We actually look forward to a packet of county-fair chicken because we didn't have to chew the bones. We can choose the bones. And for us, I was like, fuck, we can actually chew the bones of this. Umleqwa was something we experienced every day. So it was like, candlelight. Now it's romantic now.
Cool, Manez. We had a conversation, me and you, recently online on Facebook. You said something about black excellence, hashtag black excellence, hashtag buy black, and you said something with the biggest beneficiaries of hashtag buy black is white people, which is quite a sad thing.
I understand that.
And I'm like, okay, I did engage you on that thing, but I'm like, what inspired that conversation? Because I remember the first thing that I said, no, we're not ready for that conversation. We're not ready for that conversation.
And in Tigalogo, there was someone who shared this post against buy black. So support all these particular black brands. And it was all these gin makers, all these beer makers, all these wine makers, all these sneaker makers, and all of them. And then you realize, the gin makers don't have a distillery. The beer makers don't have a brewery. The wine makers don't have wineries. The sneaker makers don't have factories. They don't have the means of productions for these products. So what is it that they own then in this product? Are we being sold a lie here? And for me, that was the thing. It's that I'm not trying to bash the hustle, but I'm thinking let's be honest about what part of the process that we own. Because we certainly don't own the product. We own a part of, a lot of them own a part of the process. And it's often at the back end where then the product is already done, I just need to package and distribute. And do they then really own the product, or do they own the brand that's slapped on the land? Do you know what I mean? Is it just this that they own, the label? Do they own the liquid inside? Do they own the bottle that's in it? What is the actual conversation around that? Because it's not like we can go to their premises and see this. A lot of them, we don't go and see this stuff where they make their own product. Or if we do see this stuff, guess who's operating the machines? It's usually a white guy. The white guy that said, I've got a brewery, I've got brewery machinery, I know how to make beer, I just need the right face to make me sell this product. And in you come in and I'm saying, I'm happy when a brother eats, people must just eat. Right, I'm happy for that. But then for me, it was creating a bigger conversation around ownership of the product and which part of the value chain are you really in. Because if you think about it, the branding and the distribution is usually the most expensive part of the product, of the product. In most cases,
distribution is very
distribution
crazy,
and the branding is usually the most expensive part. And the packaging. And making the liquid might be more expensive to set up, but it's cheap to do.
In the long run,
You know what I mean? And usually the owner of the product, the owner of the brand and the distribution only accounts for 20% of that profit. 10% if they
less.
10%. It's like I hustle and come up with a name and spend money to market and promote it and spend money to find the bottle and have it bottled and then distribute it to people via Aramex or whatever. And all I'm getting out of that entire process, it's a merely 8% of the product. And so are we still buying black? Are we supporting black excellence? Or it's just another white person eating off, our pockets? Because that money that they make, it's not like they reinvest it back in the brand. And mind you, what they do again is limit the product that they give to you. So you don't prosper to levels beyond your community. They often make you want to just limit. Like the second the retailer comes to you and says, we want 1,000 cases a week. If you're not in charge of the means of production, if you don't own that, you can't make that guarantee to the retailer. The retailer then can't take you as a supplier. So you're often just limited to selling to
and then these guys
the people around you.
Go to the same retailer and say, what about you take this other, it's not really the same brand, but you will get it cheaper.
Exactly, because they can make it cheaper, because they can produce in larger bulk, but they limit what they give to you. And so when they have to pay more in production,
and when it comes to cost, it already has the
exactly. And you don't own the recipe, and so on and so forth, so you're in shit. Essentially, you can't sell this product to major retailers for it to be distributed at a greater scale because you can't guarantee production, because they say our machines can only give you 500 bottles a week. We don't trust anything that you say, but they can make 5,000 bottles a week if they need to. You know what I mean? So then you are not in charge of the growth of your business. Even if your intentions and your efforts are directed in the right direction, you are still set up to fail because you're not in charge. Do you know what I mean? And maybe there's another way of looking at it. And if we're being honest, then we can celebrate that aspect of it. Casa City, you are a distributor.
You are a distributor. You are not.
You run
you
a
are
distribution
not a manufacturer. Business. You are not.
And then now we celebrate your distribution business.
Yes. You are not a shoe manufacturer.
Exactly.
You are not.
So you don't produce these shoes because even someone else can find them in the same website that you found them on, and then put their logo on it, and you can't take them to court.
Yeah.
You can't, because it's not your product.
It's not your IP.
You have the name. So now I'm saying, maybe let's celebrate who you are. You are a marketing company, you are a distribution company, you are a branding company.
Yes.
Now those are wins we can celebrate, black man, and say black excellence, dope shit. So for me, that's where it's at. And I'm not necessarily hating on their hustle, but I'm maybe advocating for a conversation with a bit more honesty, so we can know which part of this that we are celebrating, and we can then clap our hands and say, dope, man. Dope on finding an opportunity to distribute a beer to everyone else that they wouldn't necessarily have access to under your name. Yeah. It's dope for having a marketing campaign that can relate to people that they feel as though this is a product that I can put my money behind. Yeah. As a distributor, as a brand maker, as a marketer. Yeah. Then let's celebrate you in that sense. But let's not say you made it, the product I mean.
Yeah. So we need to redefine black excellence.
No, I'm not. I think it's a conversation about what aspects of the value chain do we own, and let's celebrate that, and then aspire.
But that's the problem. People plug black excellence in everything, but we are not going to get to the point.
People don't know.
So for me, it becomes tricky when
people don't know, because you know, like we're saying that if I was the guy who what I do is to put this sticker on this motherfucker, and then I claim this whole thing, and then people will celebrate me as black excellence for this whole thing, because that's what I told them, But the thing is, what legacy are we creating? What are we passing on to the young guys? To the young guys that are coming in.
Our biggest problem in this country is the fact that we believed by getting freedom in '94, we had unlocked the keys to economic success and all. Yeah. So the lie was told to us that we are now free, and we thought we were free to participate in the economy as well. Yeah. But then the means of ownership, they were not given to us, so we didn't have access to them. Yeah. And so we might have had, I think if they were honest and said, now you have freedom of movement and freedom of this, but not necessarily, then the reality check would have settled a bit differently, with a different attitude. Yeah. It means that we are being inspired with honesty. For me, as a kid that seated somewhere in the hood that's seeing the success of this brand and believing that this brand produces this damn thing, it says to me we are capable of producing it with the nothing that we don't have. Yeah. But then if we're honest in saying, one day I want to open a factory to produce this thing by myself, but in the meantime I can't, so I've solicited the help of a Chinese firm to help produce a product that I can brand and distribute to you as mine. And the profits I get from this distribution, I can use to invest in the production of this thing. Then it's an honest conversation in saying, fuck, we believe in your vision. We understand the position that you are in. And not necessarily clouding our judgment with a false that says, me, I own. Entirely altogether.
No, I understand that.
So with that, then we must. So I don't think it's a conversation about redefining what black excellence is. It's excellence, but it's with a bit of a specification.
If your excellence is excellence in sales, if your excellence is excellence in sales, we should celebrate you as an amazing, excellent black salesperson or black marketer, but not as a black manufacturer.
Must be honest.
Something.
Yes, exactly. In what part of this product am I excelling in? In distributing it, I'm doing amazing. In owning it, I've got the intention.
Instead of just saying black excellence, because I feel like that thing that we've created.
Essentially, we need to do that thing the government did when they said BEE, and then realize that it's not enough. Let's say broad-based black empowerment, you know what I mean? Because then it says, let us be specific to people, black people in that area with money from projects that are designated for those areas, then we can say we are making a change to those business people's lives. So I'm saying, let's have an honest approach to the definition of what we are excelling in. And black people are beautiful in the sense that they're inspired by ambition.
Yeah.
So let's not fail to give them that. Let's not fail to give them an honest view in saying, I'm struggling here, but I harbor ambitions to achieve. The ambition in itself and watching you work to achieve it is inspirational to us.
Yeah.
But you should gladly tell, knowing that people will not stop supporting you just because you are still building towards.
Yeah, you're building towards.
You know what I mean?
It's true, because it's, I mean, we have, when we started with Kappa Beer Works, we aspired to make our own beer. We had an opportunity to brand a beer and stuff like that, but we're like, no, I want to make my own beer. You know, like literally, I want to make my own beer. I want to design my own flavors and stuff like that. I want to show that I can excel as a brewer, not just as a brander who claims to be a brewer. But also reality hits. We achieved that. One day we had a brewery, and then we realized that now actually this bottle costs close to 2 rands. This label costs something like 70 cents. The bottle top costs above 30 cents. So already you are close to 3 rands with an empty thing, literally. This
No
thing,
liquid.
No product.
no liquid. Then you realize that where you're gonna buy a malt, not a single black person owns a malting plant. Ne? Maybe not even a farm that grows, I think, the grains. Then second, the hops. Probably there's not a black person that owns a hop farm or a place that processes the hops. And then, not only does it go there, distribution. Not a single black person owns maybe a depot that distributes the empty bottles. Or a good printing company that will print this label and whatever that will work well. Or this bottle top. Or distributes, carries the molds from the farm to the plant, or from the plant to the shop where I buy molds. Or owning the shop that where I buy molds.
So in the entire value chain.
Or a black person that transports hops in general, because sometimes you buy it from wherever, then it comes up to you through DHL or these other big courier companies that are also not black owned. And you're like, you see how far we are as a people. We're so far, but I think your conversation, I like it because it brings us to the consciousness of how far we are in the value chain.
It also makes us understand the actual value chain in itself.
Exactly.
Because then if you're honest about where we are and where we stand, we can have an open conversation about where else can we affect ourselves. Because also, everyone wants to put themselves in the front while there's greater opportunities in the back end. And so if we're saying there's opportunities in the back end, we all aren't trying to concentrate our energies in being brands. Not everyone has to own a beer brand, but everyone can play a part in the beer making process. That means that in the making of this beer, in this bottle, in this moment, there's 500 black companies that touched its manufacturing. It's landing on this table, from the farming all the way to here. Now we can recognize opportunities in other parts, meaning that we broaden our access in the value chain. But if we are people that are wanting to cloud everyone to this reality, it means we are depriving them of access to the right information.
We're depriving ourselves as a people
Yeah.
of the ambition to basically look forward to owning part of that value.
You know
chain.
the biggest struggle, and that's the sad thing about indoctrination. Once again, it's how we are programmed to want to be the victors, and so we feel by putting anyone else on, it diminishes our light, it diminishes our shine. So we want to be. I'm not glad to be the only black person in something.
No,
You should not be glad.
You should.
In fact, you should aspire to put others on. You should want to see others there when you get there because it's less lonely. But because we are made to feel special, so now you're like, fuck, I'm the shit. I'm the only black person in this advertising agency. I'm the only black manufacturer in this beer fair. I'm the only, and so you're made to feel like you're the man
you're the shit.
because your inferiority complex doesn't allow you to be the plug.
I remember 2017 we opened what they called the first black owned microbrewery in the Western Cape. And we were talking about it there was this guy who was doing our marketing, and he's like, we should punt this. I'm like, no, we can't. This is embarrassing. We can't. It's fucking embarrassing that 2017, you are saying you are the first black whatever to own a brewery in this space. But black people are the biggest consumers of beer in the country.
Yeah.
So I've always said, I mean, people will talk about this because that's how they see the story. But I've always said that, you know what, that's not the part of the story that I'm proud of. Because I'm trying not to be the first or the black or the best black.
Only,
I want to be the best motherfucking brewer in the world.
Yeah.
In the world. Best brewer in the world.
Because subjecting
that's
yourself
the
to
thing.
that category
It's literally
means that you still don't get to compete. I've always a problem with the BET Awards for that reason. With which one was the other one, Karen? But you realize that black productions, they can aspire for BET and not the Oscars. Or the
Exactly,
what are the musical ones? What are the music awards in America, the big ones?
I think they are also under BET.
No. There's BET and there's all the TV stations, the MTV, but there's the other one. There's the Oscars for film, and then there's the Grammys.
Yeah, there's Grammys.
Like now, if you're competing for the BETs, you forget about the Grammys, and all the white artists keep winning the Grammys. All the black actors and actresses keep winning the Oscars. Because you're content with the BET Awards, which is like black entertainment. Like you are limiting your reach to only. It's like being number one as a musician. If you're number one, which one is better? If you're number one on Bush Radio than being number 39 on the Metro FM Top 40 chart. And if you look at the proportion, and then you understand that maybe being number 39 is a better one. Because it's a bigger league and it's international songs. And so as a business yourself, do you see yourself as a Bush Radio kind of business, or do you see yourself as a maybe?
Not disrespect to Push Radio, guys.
No. I mean, I'm just making an example. Also, all the disrespect to Push Radio, but anyway. I also have no respect for Push Radio.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Defending Push Radio.
No, that's all right.
He doesn't mean that. He's like, no.
Okay, so you used to do what do you call this? The hangover sessions, the cars. I remember I was supposed to come to your hangover sessions, but then Bashang COVID or Cyril Basvala and stuff like that. How did you guys do that, and who was coming there, and how did you?
It was meant to be a content series, really, but we wanted to, before the advent of the lockdown parties And before, just give me water, man.
Yeah.
I need a bit more water. Before he looked on house parties and all of those things, Best Beats TV, which was doing the stuff in Joburg. The Major League DJs that just started as well. So we wanted to put together a content channel for DJs, Kas, you know, get them to come and play. We shoot the videos. He said, videos up, and then that should be fine. But we needed, for us, in order for us to make sure that there's an image, it's not just a DJ playing in the backyard, but we wanted to have people in the space. So we set up hangover hangouts, and the fact that I could cook, and so I could distribute that product, and we could host vibes to people who can just come and find a new existence for the Sundays. So we started throwing these parties and saying
water. Still water, please.
And saying, cool, you're going out on Friday, you're going out on Saturday, you're getting drunk the night away, come and chill at the backyard. And the selling point is the fact that you can just come and be yourself, drink your cheap alcohol, take your shoes off, you know, just chill on the artificial grass, get these cool DJs playing. So we'd record the set and the crowd interaction and sort of have that vibe going. It sounded like a nice thing to me. I like deep house, and so naturally deep house was a thing. We transitioned to a bit of hip hop and also R&B, just to kind of keep the energy chilled. And people started showing up. And people were like, fuck, this is like our new home for Sundays. And so it became an every Sunday thing. We developed these cool burgers, we developed those cool chicken fries, and then we built the sauce. Imfihlelo Kakangi was born in that setup. I don't know. And it feels like such a corny story, but I think I dreamt that recipe out.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
The other day I was like, let me put these things together. And I put them in a blender, and then they made the sauce, and it was green, and I like it's a green sauce, right?
Why is that corny?
No, the fact that I dreamt about it.
No, that's how we get things.
No, but you know, it's like, that is the origination.
No, we do.
Yeah, I think, and I don't recall it specifically, but I think I dreamt about it. I think I saw myself putting this and that and that. And I think that's often what I do with whatever I create. It comes at me. I'm like,
what main flavor in Imfihlelo Kakangi? What's exactly that? What flavor do I get when I get? Is it basil? Is it chili? Is it parsley? What's the main character of the thing?
It's also called Imfihlelo. And you're asking me, what is Imfihlelo? But it's so funny.
Dude, you're not supposed to laugh. You're a cameraman. Cameraman doesn't laugh.
I was coughing. That's how we
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. You're a cameraman.
I think for me, it's the unique thing for me is the fact that it hits and cools you off at the same time.
No, you know why we want the flavor, because this show is also partly about flavor.
Yeah.
So listen.
So I think for me that's the experience.
Listen. So what we do, we want to know your flavor, so that the next few weeks we're gonna make a beer that's dedicated to you.
Okay.
I mean, and then we will call you again, or we'll come to your house with that beer, and you will taste it, and then you will give us a rating. Cool. So we want to know your flavor.
No, but I think my flavor is, we can measure it in, I guess, in how I come to develop things, right? I think there's a consistency in how I write versus how I bring people together versus how I connect with people versus how I create in the kitchen and whatever. The consistency is the ability to mix in different ingredients, but making it feel like it makes sense.
Okay.
So there's a consistency in that approach. You remember how we talked about different cliques that we mixed together to come as one? There's a consistency in that, in mixing mediums and saying, cool, let's use a multimedia platform to facilitate the coming together of people physically mix of things. When we say it is a heating and cooling effect, the sauce, we're mixing those energies together. How does the mint work with the chilies?
Okay.
You know, for
so
example.
there's the mint and the chilies.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And then a few other things.
So we're going to make a beer
Yeah.
called Imfihlelo Gakhanki.
Okay.
Out of that beer, you are the only person who's going to give us a rating of 1 to 10.
Okay.
And then everyone else will have the privilege to come and taste that beer, you know. But the rating is going to come only from you.
All right.
You know. So we're done with the beer. So great. So I've got you. Remember, send that. You know. So yeah. So
Maybe he doesn't like that idea.
This is another. Yeah. Yes. This is another part that I've always we've been curious. We spoke about it with Ushon Ongekomhlega for TV. We said we want to ask you, what do you think of SA hip hop? Who is the hottest thing in the SA hip hop, and who is the best influence in SA hip hop, and where do you think SA hip hop should be going?
Hey.
I think you must mention first that you used to be a rapper. That's where it comes from.
Yes. Oh yes.
Hey man, I don't know.
Otherwise, we're going to ask you this question.
Oh yes, this guy, his name is Mawande. His stage name is Manez. You know, like Manez. My name is Manez.
I don't know if I have
I
the
do this
credentials
Manez.
as a rapper, but I used to rap. I had a song called Semino More. I meant it.
Can you give us a few verses?
I will not be doing any of that.
Please, can you give us just 2 verses?
It was high school. It was 15 years ago.
It's fine,
It's
just
not
a few
gonna-
verses.
Chief, let's answer the first question. I'm not committing to that other part. I think for me, I mean, the kids are taking over.
Yeah.
And I think we must allow the kids to do exactly that. Yeah. And hip hop in South Africa is still very young. The OGs need to give the opportunity to the kids.
But who are the OGs in SA?
Look, there's different generations of OGs. You know, I think it begins, if you want to talk about the POC, you can only reference the POC to a certain generation that grew up listening to them. And none of these kids may know who POC is unless they go study hip hop in South Africa. And then you want to talk about Abo Amo, Nesquara Camp, they represent a different generation. And then you want to talk to about Pro Kid, about WHP, and then about Pro Kid, and then you get about, at some point you get about Casper, about AKA, about Questa. They're a generation in themselves. And then behind that, now you had about MT, about Nesty C, about whatever. Now they like now OGing up because there's
If you go deep,
Odikwala, who is this boy? Costa Teach, you know, Nabo, and then Da Bravo, Younger Chief. You know, Younger Chief is one of those people that just behind the Casper era, you know, just behind the Lando, the KO, all of them, and then those are the three. But now he's plugging in these young Xhosa kids, which is what I appreciate. You know, often you find a band about, hey, you want to tap into my sound. Yeah, no younger is on some, hey, listen, man, I've started the trend, but it's not going to grow. Rather, they were like, hey, Kulichana, you're the better one out of us. Come to take over. You know, Kulichana, Casper in your vest, all of them, they're products of, you know, the efforts of the folks. And that's how Mutsoko grew. That's how, you know, Mef Town, even in entertainment, they did the same thing. A lot of them are from the same town. You know, Ubonang, you know, Bonga, they kind of find it. They went to the same school, these people. You know, they were participating in the same cultural groups and whatnot. So I think the culture needs to plug in the kids because the kids always have better momentum, but then the more grown-ups have the money. So I hate making a reference of this all, but Unota made a recent example, Kwenye's podcast, where he said someone like Casper has the most power to put these kids to the next level. He just needs to put himself outside of the equation. You have the money to facilitate influence that these kids grow into greater level. However, if you always want to put yourself as a steering, then because Casper's brand can only grow so far. Right? Casper is not going to go international.
Yeah.
No, Casper he's not going to go international. And he's tried. He went to Sway. They went to all of them. The kids. Abo Bravo have a better chance of going international.
Yeah.
The kids. Now the boy. Casper has all the money.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't buy Bentleys and
He can
your Rolls
actually make
Royces.
more money
I'm
with
saying,
these boys.
And he had the opportunity with Utsaiho, he had the opportunity with, Abonadia Nakai, he had the opportunity with all of these kids that had signed under him. But I was glad to see him allowing them to grow elsewhere when he could not grow them to a greater level. So who's killing it today? I think the kids are out here trying to prove who's boss. They've got better vibe. Because right now it's no longer about lyrics. I think that's the problem with us, people that grew up in the lyrics era.
We
lyrics
came
are
from this guy.
Say something profound.
We came from the
Listen,
Method Man era.
I'll tell you now, lyrics have become boring to me too. Give me vibes all day.
Have they?
For me, and I'm a writer and I'm a person of words, but I'm just saying, I've caught the vibes back. Give me vibes. That's what when I drive, I put on vibes. I don't know if I want to listen to Tupac when I drive anymore.
So this is something that happened. So I listen a lot to Drink Champs. It's a podcast by Unore, and he always have these old like OGs, like in the States, and now a lot of these OGs did like collab albums and shit like that. There's one with Manez, like Method Man, and DMX, and all these other guys, even 50 Cent. I think the youngest that I saw in these like collection of songs was Lil Wayne. So a lot of these
was
OGs,
it commercially successful?
no, it's a new thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't know exactly what's the commercial success of it, and also the exposure. The problem now is that the OGs do not have the same attention they used to have. But when I listened to it the other day, I was online. I'm like, oh shit! This is the boom bap, that we grew up to.
Boom bap doesn't make sense in the club anymore.
No, it doesn't.
No, for me, it's still
Gangsta
there.
rap doesn't make sense in the club anymore.
No, we go to
Selective hearing.
selective hearing. They're still doing the boom bap.
To go listen
To boom bap, yeah.
Exactly.
That's
become
what's
niche now.
It's
you know,
niche.
it's niche. So I'm still very niche. These young guys are doing, they're like henny, henny, huh, henny, henny, huh, whoo, henny, henny, henny.
But it's grown from that though.
Ferrari,
I think it's kind of grown. I feel like we're not being fair.
I'm
judging
fine.
the kids.
No, I'm not trying to judge them badly.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that I don't understand these motherfuckers.
And they found
but
different
I
ways of
know
expressing
it's
themselves.
good for them, and they are.
Here's a beautiful thing.
thing.
And I feel like they've learned to express themselves using less words.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something in that because they grew up in a culture of tweets.
Yeah.
You have a character limit of 140, now to 80.
Yes.
They've learned to express themselves with less, but the emotion has not necessarily gone away. Like, I don't think it has. If you listen to Lento, what is it? Trap Soul, which is also now getting outdated already, which is a subgenre of a subgenre. Trap music, trap soul, it's got all the emotions and few of the words. They found ways in using the instrument and the sound of their voices to creatively, and also America, I know there's, like I was hearing the story of, who is this boy? It's not Future. One of these Atlanta, this Mambo rap. What's the name?
Isn't Young Thug or something?
Young Thug.
Young Thug, yeah.
Young Thug comes from the same school of thought as you are Andre 3000. All these Atlanta lyrical geniuses.
Yeah.
And Kutapana, the rule to be a part of that movement, his father was a part of it.
Yeah.
Kutapa, you have to sound different to everyone else that's here.
Yeah.
Young Thug couldn't be as lyrical as Andre because Andre was Andre and everyone else was everyone else in that stable.
Yeah.
In order for him to be recognized by the stable in itself, he needed to sound different to everyone else. If everyone else has been
He's good.
a sharp
I
pianist.
actually like Young Thug.
Now, Young Thug realized that maybe I must make sounds in order to be heard, and not necessarily words. That's how he made himself different. South African point of view, our only chance right now of owning a global sound that the sound is going to listen to is amapiano.
Amapiano.
I think amapiano have become more than a sound, and I think that's what allows the growth of sounds, is when they form and they form a culture.
Yeah.
Now amapiano people, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
They dance a particular way.
Yeah.
They drink a particular way.
Yeah.
They Gqom never became a culture.
Gqom was.
And Gqom again Gqom is adapted. I think the sound of Gqom is adapted from Europe. It's kind of sort of adapted from Europe. Gqom sound.
Gqom wasn't
Amapiano.
I would say from
Amapiano, I feel like him now. They basically gonna take what Kwaito did.
No, Gqom is
No, it's a Durban sound.
Yeah, but
I mean,
right now,
Gqom is popular in KZN.
It's
No, it's KZN, Eastern Cape and Western Cape.
yeah.
Gqom flourishes in those parts of the country. But amapiano has infected every part of the country. And amapiano have become a lifestyle. Now there's amapiano specific venues that you know about. The venue in itself is amapiano. It's not just the sound that's being played by the DJs. The venue, so it's become a cultural movement. It influences fashion, it influences behavior, it influences different aspects of culture. People dress a particular way, people move a particular way, and so it's got a better chance of becoming our sound to the world. It's becoming the second coming of Kwaito.
Does it have a chance of becoming Panzula? Do you remember the Panzula time?
Panzula was dancing. Kwaito was the sound, was the culture.
No, Panzula was also a culture.
But
Panzula had its own dressing,
Yeah.
you know, like thing and all.
Yeah, but
had
how
its
many
haircuts.
successful concerts that are born out of dance do you know?
No,
Music is a stronger cultural influencer than dance.
Oh,
And
obvious,
Amapanzula then would essentially be backup vocalist in a way to Kwaito.
Yes.
Kwaito was the bigger culture, so Ispanzula, the fashion, I think was reference to Kwaito as a culture for me.
No. I'm talking about Panzula as in our socks back in the day. Our Chikotwala, you know, when nothing.
No, but that was bubble gum.
Yeah, that wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It was big.
But it was called, yeah, but
No,
it was
you
bubble
motherfuckers
gum.
were young. I'm
no.
telling you this.
I'm not saying it wasn't big.
That was big, bro.
I'm saying it was bubble gum though.
Comes from
Yeah.
It gave birth to quite again. Bubblegum was heavily influenced by Ulendo about James Brown and them from a, and then it became localized a bit. There was still about those afros and the
Disco. Yes.
it was
Disco,
kind of-
yes.
You
back in
see,
the day, Codet Disco in tension.
Do you remember when Rebecca Malo used to do this
Yeah,
cut
before-
and
before
then
she started playing herself in
yeah,
science.
yeah. Before I call it hallelujah.
yeah, I think for me, amapiano have a better potential. I feel like from Kwaito, Kwaito has finally been succeeded by something that has a potential of being strong. And then there's going to be, you're going to start seeing various sub-genres of amapiano. There's going to be a bit of soulful mapiano, there's going to be a bit of
Maybe there's going to be a tap in
up-tempo
mapiano.
mapiano. In Nigeria is, and the sad thing is that Nigeria might own amapiano more than we do. I'm glad that Focalist did this remix with Davido. Because finally it gives a reference to, because Nigerians have been starting to do amapiano songs, Chief, on their own. On their own.
And Nigerians know how to own shit.
Exactly. Now finally Davido comes and puts a stamp on someone like Focalist. It says a nod to you started the shit. So now the beef between Davido and Burna Boy and that one. No. I know. Fuck it. Wizkid and Burna Boy. They're close friends and they've got collectively a beef by two against Davido.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. And so I think those two are going to want to take an amapiano song and make it bigger than what Davido has done on the way. So now they can come through. You see, Samuel Maporisa becomes very useful now because Maporisa has connections to those two, you know. And so then if Maporisa can get on a piano song, these two, or one of them, then it has a potential of becoming globally big. But make sure that you don't leave behind the vocalist that made amapiano make sense from a South African point of view.
What's there for us like Cape Town, guys? Like, Where?
But it's not ours. Gqom is Durban. We make really great Gqom as Cape Townians, but we don't own the brand Gqom. No, we do. Some of the best Gqom comes out of Cape Town. If you think, no.
Which
think
one?
Dog Ubiza, who makes amazing Gqom music.
Biza,
Taylor makes, no. I think Cape Town has created a distinct Gqom sound, especially on that emo tip. Yeah, but what the stuff that Taylor is flourishing with today is stuff that you could find DNA of to other oaks that made Gqom up in Cape Town. And a lot of the bigs, Omonye Pos Gomonye was made here, dog. The instrumental. Side B, Kailija.
Oh, I remember that.
Really?
Eh?
We don't know that, but
I mean,
it will always be
it's in the news.
Town.
I'm just saying the instrumental was made here.
Okay, we don't know that, but
It's that clicky thing. It's those clicks thing.
Yeah.
Because then that world of Cape Town Gqom is a click in itself. That if you're not tapping into that world, you wouldn't necessarily know what goes on in it. Yeah. A lot of the and that's the culture of South African music today. A lot of the producers that are releasing songs didn't produce. They didn't create those songs. They bought ready-made beats. Put a vocalist in it, so they produced that.
So talking about Cape Town, there's Youngster Cape Town.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, Youngster represents only a part of Cape Town, not the whole of Cape Town. And I think that's the reality, is that you can't, you see, for example, in Joburg, there's the north, right, where our Dales come from, where then the black kids and the colored kids can mix because they have money in common. And so they can come out and affect everyone else with their music. In Cape Town, there was a time maybe in the ages of Purple Turtle and whatnot where you could have a VJ Jono and a Youngster and an El Nino meeting in the same space and saying, yeah, let's make some music. Today, even those like hip-hop sessions are not a thing anymore. If they exist back into, there was a time when you had All NYs in Cooks, which was a hip-hop session that happened every Sunday. And you knew everyone was going to All NYs because you could find the best of his Spaza hip-hop there. And so cats from Kainicha, cats from Cooks, cats from Fulani Delft, cats from Philippi, they would come bring their own different sounds for variations of his Spaza. Cats from Eastern Cape were looking forward to coming to Cape Town to perform at a hip-hop session. And then the culture aspect was lost when the need for commercialization came true. Because cats were growing old now. Cats needed to make a bit of a living. And now it was like, fuck, pay me.
I don't know what we can do as Gqom Beerworks to help and think. Actually, we're going to play his songs.
I think Youngster is succeeding.
And he is succeeding. He definitely will.
He needs to get bigger.
He's a smart guy. He needs to...
Do you guys think Youngster is going to get any bigger? I feel like Youngster is reached his cap because he's limited himself to Cape Town.
No, the problem that maybe you should cut the Cape Town part of it and just become Youngster.
Listen.
But that's the thing. So we Youngster, when I first heard Youngster was an English rapper.
Yeah.
He's probably, you see Tom, the volume.
He changed.
There was the only other person that I've ever heard in hip hop in South Africa that could actually match Tommy in delivery was Youngster. I was like, who
he
is
changed.
This person?
And
then they moved his branding to say, you need to rap like a colored, have the accent because you need to represent your
And mind you, Youngster is
but
from
now
like one.
They took him from the possibility of being national, international, and he's always grouped in this Cape Town.
He was never going to be national, international.
He could have been something like AKA.
No, listen. Tumi is not a big rapper. If we're not talking body size. No, pause. No. Let me try to make a point. Okay. The biggest problem with Tumi is that he sounds American. Tumi found his success when he was with the Volume, because then they created an authentic sound fusing jazz and hip hop, and he was a festival hit. Tumi was going to be Huma Sekela Big as part of Tumi and the Volume, where you were a festival success, performing in all the big festivals in Europe and touring consistently. That was his journey to success, but he wanted to be cool so badly. And so he flipped and said, cool, I'm going to rap on beats and be like a proper MC, not this poet, wanting to be an MC who uses lyricism on a band. He wanted to be cool, wanted to be hip. And he did that song, No Bricks. And suddenly everyone he did a song with started sounding better than him. And I'm saying sounding better because they were not better lyricists. But they started sounding better. Ustumi wanted to advocate him as a lyricist at a time when lyricism was losing relevance. And so he had the power, he created motif, and he said he's going to sign other lyricists about reason, but they never found success under him. Ricky Rick didn't find success under Tumi.
I saw something, people were saying that Origin had less, I think, plays online than G65. Rest in peace, G65.
Origin, I mean, he probably...
He's talented, he's smart.
And the reason
was a rapper. Origin is basically Tumi's protege.
Yeah.
From a lyricist point of view. We youngster realized that, ish man, if I sound like them, if I sound like American, because then his only advantage here, his disadvantage is the fact that no one wants to listen to Afrikaans rap. So he doesn't have Xhosa or Zulu or any of those cool languages to lean on. And English achieves very little success. And then AKA starts doing it his way. And he can't be AKA, right? You can't be another colored rapper coming from Cape Town, sounding American or sounding Joburg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? AKA had Dallas. Dallas was like, come here. Make you sound better. I'll make you be accepted this side. Yeah, well.
Maybe he needs to date one.
Youngster.
He needs to date one of these chicks. He needs to add a bit of Kardashian shit in his life.
Youngster for him, I think he's a heritage rapper. No, but he's a heritage rapper. And I think that's the thing. I think the fact that he wants to represent his heritage so much, it means that he stands a chance of not globalizing well enough. But I think you must be smart in how you use your heritage. But there must be a way of making it appeal to the vibe. Because the vibe is what sells, and the youngster is what is done. The youngster has said, I'm going to rap in this Xhosa, but I'm not going to be advocating for Xhosa rap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I making sense? I'm just making this shit cool with my Xhosa vowels and nouns here.
Yeah.
Just to say that.
I'm going to throw, the right words in the mix, and these kids are going to feel the vibe. Because now we are about that life. So in our own reimagined way. Yeah. So for someone to say Ikian in a song, it's like, hey, it's a reference to something that I have a soft spot for, but now it takes me to a new place, a new feeling. Yeah. You know what I mean? How do you make it cool? The youngster then is Muslim, doesn't drink, doesn't do all these bad things. I'm not saying he must do bad things, but it's difficult for him to be cool to the greater young community, right? And the young community is the one that opens all the wallets and spends all our monies. Because we give them our money, they spend it more, And so then they gravitate towards someone that appeals to them a bit more. And now it limits the younger's earning potential because he's going to become a rapper for rappers. He's going to win best lyricist all the time.
Yeah.
But not best rap record. And
so moving away from hip hop to your, I know you're very passionate with Ikaslako, and you've been trying to help a lot of people, Kasi and stuff like that, and you participate in all these programs, whatever these other entrepreneurs at Kylie are doing and shit like that. And recently something big happened. Codet Cata declared Umhlaba was a Kylie as theirs.
Not just Umhlaba as a Kylie. In the lands where they own roads. Because it ranks specific to which association.
Yes.
So there's people of Kylie. There's people who may have lived in shacks at Kylie. And then when the new areas are built, and Kutata Abantu who lived in Kylie, relocate to new communities.
Yes.
By default, that community falls under that association because Gabantu Bitu.
So
if you go to Mfuleni, a majority of people about Mfuleni moved from shacks in Kylie, Side C and so on. So Mfuleni is an extension of Codet Cata land. Because Abantu Basukapi, if you go to a place like Delft, where a section is culture people, a section is people from KTC and Nyanga, and a section is people from Langa. Now Langa, Nyanga, Nekukuletu, they all fall under Cata. At Delft, there's been a major Texas struggle with Cata and Codet and a native association called DTA, Delft Texas Association, in battling for control of the roots. That's why there's been Texas wars in Delft for the longest, because there's no clear association that owns, because there's the colored people that aren't from the black communities that live in Delft. Yeah. So DTA represents them. Yeah. And then you have Codet that says, who may have moved to Delft back in 1998, mind you, but they're from Kailicha by heritage. Cata is like, if you go at Delft at section 9, section 14, KTC for sure. Different sections, people specific from those areas. So now, Codet land essentially then becomes all those areas where they have ownership of a rank in. It's not just Kailicha. I don't underestimate those homeboys. You know,
so mabeti ukodeta eti Uber is 7
in the same way the police taxi industry ilala ngegudu mas. So they were saying no, but they could bully these guys, they wouldn't fight back. They were saying all school transport operators, all staff transport operators, which is often independent people that don't have a system to govern them. Like now I've got a big H1 car. So now I can take it in and put in the system and transport school kids. Now we are not associated and formed with a structure that's recognized by Sanko or whatever.
You don't have a car.
And we're not ANC.
Maybe you do.
We don't have, I don't, Chief. I don't play those games. He's just want to touch me. Anyway, so, so then there's the Uber drivers and taxis. There's always an issue with Taxify and Uber. And there's this misplaced assumption they are tapping into their market. But they're offering a different service to what they offer.
Yeah,
because it's not like you're gonna. There's no taxi that's gonna pick me up in front of my house with all my bags and take me to the airport all by myself. I don't want to sit with other people. I don't want to sweat. I don't want people to sweat for me. You know what I mean? So they're not gonna do that. But they're simply saying, hey, when you are tapping into, no, you're offering something different. There's a value that comes with Lama Out that you can achieve, you can provide. So Bonabati, you must get a permit because everyone must get a permit. So they're taking the frustration with how they're working with the government. So the government says taxis can only operate specific routes that are approved by the city. Your permit only says, even in one taxi, your permit says you can only travel from Cape Town to Khayelitsha. That's the only route you can travel.
Okay. So
you can't take people from Khayelitsha to Claremont. You are violating the permit that you have signed. And so, Bati, why? So your rank yako, base rank yako, Khayelitsha, ne town. Bati, if you rank Uber. Why are the permits allowing them to operate anywhere? They get to make money everywhere.
And everywhere.
So we must allow them in our territory. Why must they? Because if you're an Uber, you can just go to Parklands in the morning. You can go to Summer Greens in the afternoon. You can go. Your earning potential is greater because you've got access to more routes. Tina, my taxi can only go.
Sometimes you can only take one person.
Yeah, but what's the rate?
Yeah, but it's still.
And it's cars that are more economic.
Let's say I'm coming from Khayelitsha to.
So now it's gonna sound like Ntetele Lukotet and Ntetele Lukotet, but I get their point because
I get their point.
It's different rules applying to different
transportation systems.
But it's like we are in the same industry. Why are the rules different? And it's the problem that they had with the whole My City project. Do you know what I mean? That's why My City you don't no longer get My City Khayelitsha and Asimichas Plain anymore. Because they said, initially the partnership was between the Golden Arrow Services and My City and the city of Cape Town specifically for the ownership of those routes. But now the problem is that Golden Arrow has shares now in the Mitchells Plain route, the Khayelitsha route, the Danone route, all these routes going across is My City. Golden Arrow has shares in all of them. But associations only have shares.
Association normally is below. Because that's what we had. That the taxi associations we're supposed to have shareholding in
No, they have shareholding in the root. They have shareholding. So in Khayelitsha, Codet Cata only has shares in the DO1 and DO2 route.
Ooh. So what's
Mitchell's Plain has DO3, DO4, Mitchell's Plain Taxi Association.
Yeah.
But Golden Arrow has shares in all of them.
No, but because Golden Arrow and Ule route.
Again, Golden Arrow operates in a different system compared to the taxis. There's an unfair advantage that Golden Arrow has. The unfair advantage that Ubers have. So essentially, we want a bigger slice of the situation. The beautiful thing about coming up with names that aren't specific to the functionality, the brand must be the brand. You know?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Are we on? Okay, cool. It's amazing what you just said about Codet, because the past week or so, I've been reading and talking a lot about Codet and Codet and all these things, and I thought these motherfuckers are just crazy. But now I'm understanding.
Look, I think they're crazy in some of their ways. Because you can't just. I think the approach is it sacrifices the passenger.
It does.
The passenger suffers in the name of Codet Cata's struggle with the government.
But why doesn't the government makes it easy for Codet Cata to just do business? Because essentially, Codet Cata just wants to do business.
That's what I mean, is that the fight between government and Codet Cata affects the passenger the most.
Yeah.
And that can't be right.
So recently I saw Utombong Cosma Dixela had tweeted something that
he said he's going to go have a meeting
with Codet
to understand, but what is this thing? What is this?
He never tweeted back what the meeting yielded.
I don't know if there was ever, because then Sanko came through first. Again, it's a battle for clout most with these oaks. They would have reached the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Ubongo Smatigizela, the same that they've reached with Sanko. So because Sanko came the first, now it's like an ANC victory. Yeah, but even if it's temporary, it doesn't really solve the issue. Because all they did was kind of show Codet Cata a bit of reasoning in saying, look, people are talking shit about you on Twitter, so then maybe try and retract the statement. Yeah, and so they kind of became that and became about that. And I think that's where the difference is at, but it's the problem in itself has not been solved, and it's been an ongoing conversation for years now. And my city was stopped in Khayelitsha, 2-3 years ago? 3 years ago.
Okay.
Trains stopped moving even.
No, the trains are there.
Exactly, since the longest time. Yeah. So in reality, land, this is going to be a thing that takes a lot longer to work through.
There's one part of the conversation that I do want us to talk about before you leave. It's I've been to Khayelitsha many times. There's this wave of entrepreneurship and all these young people who are trying to do things and stuff like that. And I'm like, how do you think it's going right now, and what do you think is yielding?
I mean, I really worry about speaking on authority as a Khayelitsha, because I only got to Khayelitsha 3 years ago. I think I was only attracted as well by the same energy that you saw. Yeah. I think it's a wonderful place of opportunity, in the sense that there's only a few townships that you can start something and it is a chance of surviving.
But are those things succeeding in Khayelitsha?
Some have been. There's going to be successes and failures. There's successful coffee shops that run in Khayelitsha, where coffee culture is not a thing in the township context. But there's coffee shops that are running successfully. There's a travel agency that's running successfully that hires out vehicles. Whereas that's something that's not very normal as a service industry that you find emanating from Khayelitsha. You'd have to go to Avis at the airport. You know what I mean? You're finding successful businesses that wouldn't necessarily make it in the hood, at least thriving in Khayelitsha. So it says to me, I think it's important to understand the Khayelitsha consumer. I think that's important because in Khayelitsha, there's a strong presence of black middle class people who have opted against renting out expensive apartments in the city and said, I can go buy a house in Khayelitsha.
But
so there's
one of the things that I got when I went to Khayelitsha for the first time, I met a lot of people and they were, I wouldn't say bragging, but they were telling me about how much money is generated in culture per day. And immediately, me being me was like, how much of that money sleeps in culture?
Look, there's a lot of successful businesses that were born out of people from Khayelitsha.
Yeah, like
some of them may not live there anymore. Like I know Ace doesn't live in Khayelitsha anymore. He lives in Ireland.
but he's still in culture.
But exactly. His business operates out of Khayelitsha. It's a Khayelitsha business, true and true.
Yeah.
Khayelitsha business are thriving. They're holding their own ground. They're holding their own ground. So yeah, you've got Khayelitsha Mall, but it's not the focal point.
Yeah.
You've got Nkqubela inside B. It's not the focal point. The biggest place where people are buying food in Khayelitsha are not KFC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are going to Spine Road. I'm telling you, Spine Road is becoming what Long Street has been.
It's an economy on its own. Yeah.
Spine Road is becoming what Long Street has been for the longest time. What Vilakazi Street was for the longest time.
Yeah.
Spine Road only.
Yeah.
Rands is not in Spine Road.
Yeah.
The Milk is not in Spine Road.
Yeah.
They bought their own Makabeni Road.
Yeah. Just
So
like
even Makabeni in itself has massive potential.
Yeah.
Now those are just businesses in the lifestyle space, right? You've got Tazane Street, which is more industrial, welders, people that are making things with their hands. You know what I mean? A lot of the distribution centers, 2-3 big distribution centers of the Somalian Spaza Shop network are in the Tazane Road strip.
That's beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's again a different industry that exists on another street. Kazane has the most surgeries for these GPs and whatnot. And it's not just someone with a small room. They've built up what looks like, small hospitals. You know what I mean? So the potential is great, man. If you look at what, and it's just around the Khayelitsha, the Litter Park, original Khayelitsha space. And then you expand, you think about Site B, you think about Makaza, you think about Makaya, you think about Site C, you think about all these other areas that too have potential. Harare and Kuyasa and Zwezo, that when you look up you can see the ocean from their homes. So that those also have their own potential that they still need to realize and what the possibilities could be. And there's spending power, as I was saying. In the morning when you leave Khayelitsha for town, you have traffic congestions of cars driving into Khayelitsha. Meaning that there's people coming to work in Khayelitsha. As much as you see, like Enyanga, Nasekokuletu, there's traffic congestions of volumes of vehicles driving into the N2.
Yeah, exactly.
There's greater congestions in Khayelitsha of cars coming in.
That's
Meaning that while millions are leaving to work, millions are coming into work. That's a place that can sustain itself economically. So I think there's room for products and services and businesses to thrive and make millions servicing just people. If there's no mint, there is a business that distributes gas.
How do we protect the black economy from the capitalist vultures?
Khayelitsha has been nice, man, with the fact that they've got the Khayelitsha Business Forum, they've got the KDF, Khayelitsha Development Forum, they've got these bodies that ensure to some degree that they have involvement from the Khayelitsha economic sector in every development that happens there. So Khayelitsha Mall, there's an ownership of Khayelitsha from black Khayelitsha residents.
How much is that?
I can't give you details. I got the 3 years ago.
But how many black businesses get
so it might not be getting so obviously the biggest rental income comes from the bigger chains. But a share of that rent stays in Khayelitsha because some people that have ownership in the mall are Khayelitsha residents. You know what I mean? A portion of that stays within. So the important thing also is to note about a mall's success. A mall is never going to be just successful with local stores only. It takes us back to that Bush Radio Metro FM conversation.
Yes.
If you think about it, if you can build a mall that attracts bigger chain stores, you are guaranteed more rental income that can help you empower the community in other ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you can build smaller rooms that people can rent stalls in and whatnot and whatnot. You know that's not a big chunk of your profit, but at least you're helping, traders exist within the space. And
but are we getting like a chance of growing the culture businesses in that space? Because being there is
but
attention.
we've also proven that
it's attention.
we were saying just
when
now,
you are there, the mall brings a lot of people.
We were saying
and
just now,
there's a lot of small culture business that needs that attention.
We were saying,
do we have laws or provisions that allow if at least one or two culture businesses get a bit of that attention?
Again, I think there's always opportunity to grow and develop these aspects into the thinking. Yeah. But we're also just saying right now, Guti, culture mall and Nonkubela, they're not the focal points of, like in Guguletu Mall may feel like the focal point, but culture mall, it's very peripheral, right? Yeah. Now, if you wanna exist in some of the businesses, if you wanna services that are running in those malls, I don't know how easy it is to get a shop to sell clothes. Yeah. I don't know how many people go to Khayelitsha Mall to buy clothes. I'm not saying they don't. I'm saying I don't know how many do. But I don't know what the opportunities are there for KDF as well.
Like a Khayelitsha designer to
infiltrate those spaces, but they can make money. Melikaya from Le Port.
Yeah, I know Le Port. Actually, I want to buy a Le Port t-shirt. Melika, please, brah, I want a Le Port t-shirt. Please.
We can organize. I can organize.
Through him, I will inbox you and I'll buy it. And I'll borrow money from Sean and the cameraman. I don't have money, but I'll buy it. Don't worry.
He's a Khayelitsha resident, right?
Yeah, I know.
His clothes are selling internationally.
Beautiful.
And I feel like
no. The coolest thing about Le Port is it's like one of those things. I haven't bought anything from Le Port, but I've seen his shit. I'm like, motherfucker.
It's dope. And he knows their worth.
Yeah.
He's not shy. Umelka would make a jacket and say it's 1,900 rands.
And
people will buy
it.
It's
will look.
It's going to be sold out, and it's going to be
it will look.
It's a good investment. It's 1,900 rands.
Yeah, it's a cool. So
I've hosted a couple of pop-up shops with him at my place.
There's a guy also with I haven't gone. I've been invited there by some Usizipo to the Utaba guy.
Makaza Lifestyle. Now that's in Makaza all the way.
In Makaza.
Yeah, and he's got a shop there where he sells his own clothes. Okay. And he does very well. So he did it in the mall. He uses his garage at his place.
Yes.
So I'm not saying the Khayelitsha, the owners of the mall, or people who have influence in the conversation about the mall can't do better. They definitely can. But in the meantime, businesses are finding a nice way of surviving outside of that.
We have another shout out that we have to do for Khayelitsha. We have Spinach King here at Maker's Landing. The guy is doing his spinach breads and all this food that's like healthy food. Ulifefe Nonjanna is a brother of mine.
Yeah. No, it does great. It does great. It's people like that. We're in the food business.
Okay, cool.
So we can collaborate with each other a lot more.
So my brother, we're gonna invite you again, or we're gonna come to you with our beer that we're gonna make here, which is Imfihloga Kanki. So this is very interesting. So we're gonna come to you and you're gonna judge it honestly as you can. But we're going to try and...
Are you going to sell it and make money?
Yes, we will. And we won't give you a cent of it. But...
you say that 8% conversation we're having about producing and just being in charge of the labor.
Yeah, no, we will give you free beer. We'll give you free beer. We'll make a small batch. We'll make a small batch, 30 liters. We'll give you some. You try it. If it becomes big, then we'll put in the big tank. Yes, we'll give you money afterwards. But from now, we won't give you a cent. Nothing. Zero.
It's black on black violence, eh?
Black on black violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts like this.
Yeah. Closing, if you can quickly tell us what, what are you currently busy with? What, are the very near future plans that you have?
Yeah.
So that if people want to get in touch and want to find whatever you are busy with and support,
Yeah.
Because that's what we're about. We need to start supporting each other because of Black excellence.
And how can we or other people that are watching this participate in what your next project and whatever? It's,
we're trying to survive COVID now.
Yes.
I think for me, it's taken a knock on everyone's lives and hustles. I'm a social engineer. I bring people together.
Yes,
and the number one rule of COVID is don't bring people together.
Yes,
so I'm affected heavily by that reality in that I'm very skeptical about, operating like hangover hangouts and facilitating other sessions where people come together. My space is very intimate. And my space is designed for intimacy because then people connect. Yeah. And that's been the unique selling point of everything that I've done in that space is that people come in as strangers and they live as friends because they have no room to sit separate.
Do you want to do it
they
here?
Have no, social distance is not encouraged in my place.
Do you want to do it here in Makers Landing? We have space.
We can see how we reimagine it because it has to, the energy needs to be transferred. Slaughter a goat, take the energy from there, bring it here, so that people can be attracted by the same aura, because that's, people get into my space and they feel they need to chill. They want to take off their shoes. They want to put their phones away and talk to the next person. People hardly take pictures of the food, not that it doesn't look great, but they look forward to savoring the moment instead of capturing the moment. So that's the energy that we have there. So the one thing that I'm very passionate about pushing is the production of the sauce that we make. I'm looking to raise a bit of money to get industrial size blenders, so we can start producing in.
How much is an industrial size blender?
I think it's about 16 grand last time I checked.
16 grand.
Yeah.
So 16 grand for an industrial size blender.
Like an industrial size blender. Because the other blenders,
this is what we're going to do. Tonight we come Beer Works, we're going to buy enough of the sauce for $1,000. So Soxala 15, Ushon is going to pay. So guys, please, can you take part? Just buy $1,000 worth of the sauce, even if it's just one bottle. So 15 of us. No, 15 of you, motherfuckers. You buy this thing. We've already bought like 1,000 right now. We've already committed. So we shot for 15K.
Where can we buy it?
So the sauce again is sold exclusively from me. I'm a sole distributor because
we're gonna put his number here. We're gonna put his number here.
So you can contact me directly. Here. I think we'll go back. We'll manufacture mid-March.
Yes, sir.
That's when we'll manufacture the next batch. Looking to maybe try and put
200
bottles out, and then see how far we can distribute that for now. So we distribute nationally. We can courier the sauce to you. Yeah.
So what you're gonna do when you make that sauce? You're gonna bring a lot of it here. We're gonna sell it. Cool. We're gonna take $1,000 worth of it, and we're gonna sell the other 15 for you.
Cool.
We're gonna help you do that.
Let's make it happen.
And then you're gonna buy one blender, and then you take it from there.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. This was an amazing segment with Mawande, Manez, Ukanki. So we're gonna make it beer for you now. Imfihlelo Kanki, which is basically inspired by his sauce, Imfihlelo Kanki. And basically that's what we do. We're trying to lower the boundaries of flavor. Anyone who has a palate has flavor, literally. And anyone who has life has the ability to change lives. I think I'm drunk. As always. This is Letu Chabang, your drunk uncle.
Show of it.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Yeah.